Vikings are $13 million over the salary cap, which is one of the worst in the NFL right now. Not only are we $13 million above the salary cap, but a lot of our salary cap is going to the same few players, which is why today we're going to take a look at salary cap cuts for the Minnesota Vikings. So, first of all, before we do this, I want to talk about restructuring contracts because there should be no contracts for this Minnesota Vikings offense that should be restructured. It is a very rare case that I like when teams restructure contracts. Because all you're doing when you restructure a contract is kicking the can down a couple years. You're just screwing yourselves over in the future. And that's what the 2019-2020 Vikings team did to us now. Because now we have Harrison Smith, Adam Thielen, and Kirk Cousins all on massively overpaid contracts. Why? Because they took salary cuts a couple years ago. Salary cuts are not salary cuts when all you're doing is getting your money later in guaranteed salary. So we're not going to restructure. We should not restructure any contracts this offseason. And I would hate to see it happen. I am so tired of restructuring contracts. The only time it makes sense is when you are in a Super Bowl or bust year, which is where the Rams were this year. The Rams this season are in the Super Bowl. They were a Super Bowl or bust team. Sean McVay's job was on the line if they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, which is why out of everyone on that team, he's probably most happy to make it, even more than Stafford, to finally be on a winning team. But you have to take a look at this. How do I think the Vikings should handle their $13 million over the salary? By making big-time blockbuster trades or by cutting players away. Because in all honesty, Vikings might not be in a complete rebuild, but what we are is entering a new era for this team. This is the dawn of a new era. Whoever our next head coach is going to be, we have a new GM. We have to possibly look to a new quarterback. We have to look to new skilled position players because we have way too much money going to the same few players. And that's why, first of all, we're going to talk about Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith loved playing this Vikings team. I understand. He's the longest tenured Vikings. He's been with our team for 10 years now. Harrison Smith, with that being said, is due a lot of money upcoming. In 2022, if the Vikings do trade away Harrison Smith, which they can, Harrison Smith might be over 30 years old, but he remains a top 7 safety in the league. Hence why he's going to another Pro Bowl this year, because he is a top 7 safety in the league. If the Vikings do trade away Harrison Smith, he would be traded away and the Vikings would still have to pay him $7.7 million. That would be dead salary cap, and it would save him $5.8. So it wouldn't save us a whole lot of money, and then if you trade him after June 1st, it would better help our salary cap. So you don't have to trade Harrison Smith away. This is not a need, but this is an option that Kwesi has. This is an option that our front office has, is trading away Harrison Smith because he is over 30 years old. And if you're looking at us now, do you really think the Vikings are going to be a Super Bowl contender in 2022? Yes, we can win our division. I know that. Aaron Rodgers might leave Green Bay. Devontae Adams might be out of Green Bay, as well as a long list of other players who will likely be out of Green Bay. I understand the Vikings could win their division in 2022. I don't see any case that the Vikings can make it out of the 2022 NFC, get the NFC champions, and make it into the Super Bowl next year. I really don't think it's going to happen. And maybe this is the realism, Vikings fan, where I just don't want to be optimistic in just about any season. I was optimistic about this last season. I honestly believe that was our year, because what did the Vikings do? They were a Super Bowl or bust team. It was a Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman final run with this Vikings team, and why they restructured a bunch of contracts so they can go all in. A Super Bowl or bust year this was for the Vikings. Well, it was a bust year. After a bust year, you should go into a minor rebuild. This is not a complete rebuild, okay? You're going to keep a lot of your star players. We have a lot of young talent on our team. I understand that. But what we also have is a lot of valued old talent, like Harrison Smith, who's been with the team for 10 years, and the Vikings can definitely find value in trading him away. That would help us in the salary cap. We'd still be in the pit, but it would still be beneficial for our salary. Another player to mention, another player on top of Harrison Smith who sells a lot of jerseys and makes the Vikings a lot of money is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, loved player for this Vikings team. Obviously, if you're a Vikings fan, you love the guy. You really can't hate the guy. But what you can hate is paying him this much money. What you can hate is paying a wide receiver over the age of 30 this ridiculous amount of money. So if the Vikings do trade away Adam Thielen before June 1st, we would still have to pay him $11.1 million in 2022. It would only save us $5.8 million. However, if you trade Adam Thielen after June 1st, it would save us $12.6 million. 12.6. That would be very beneficial for the Vikings. Now, I've said it multiple times. Adam Thielen might be in his 30s, but he remains one of the most underrated wide receivers in football. He is the best receiver over the age of 30 right now. He has played in the league for how many years now? 8 years, 8, 9 years, and has shown no sign of decline. So, yes, he can come into 2022 and still look great. Might be for a different uniform, though. Because if you're looking at Kwesi, typically what GMs do, they make big time changes to the team. This would be a massive change for the team. And we don't even need to bring in someone to be alongside him. KJ Osborne just had a breakout year. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. On top of that, BC Johnson, Amir Smith-Marset, these are two players who have also shown promise in the last few seasons. And I'd be totally fine with either one of them taking that wide receiver 3 role, or else the Vikings can go receiver in the second round. There's a lot of depth in the receiver class this year where the Vikings can find value in their second round for another receiver to bring them in. Adam Thielen's a potential move that the Vikings could make, that Kwesi specifically could make, and that would be a big-time blockbuster move. A lot of Vikings fans would be not big fans of this. They would not be fans of the move because we love Adam Thielen. We love him a lot. What I love more than Adam Thielen is winning. All right? Gonna be completely honest. Adam Thielen is very helpful for our team. He's a star player on our offense. But what could also help us is trading away and possibly getting a second or third round draft pick for him. I'd be all in for that. Another player to talk about, another player sells a lot of jerseys, Danielle Hunter. Okay, Vikings fans. Danielle Hunter's great. I understand. He's amazing. He's still a top 7 defensive end in all of football. Woody also is a very injury-prone player. Injury-prone player, meaning he gets injured just about every year for the Vikings. And by every year, I mean the last couple seasons. You hate to see it. However, with our defense, what the Vikings can do very well is develop defensive linemen. If Danielle Hunter requests a trade, you should respect that and trade him away. You don't have to hold him hostage on your team because, in all honesty, why should he want to play with a team that will likely not compete next year anyways? I'm totally fine with a player like him demanding money. His contract very okay. It's an all right contract. If the Vikings do trade away Danielle Hunter before June 1st, it would save him $14.6 million of salary. Wow, that is a lot of money. That would be very helpful for our salary cap, and we could bring in some more young talent on our team. If the Vikings trade him away after June 1st, it would save us $20 million of salary. $20 million for Danielle Hunter, an injury-prone player. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with trading away Danielle Hunter. I'm okay with keeping Danielle Hunter. Either decision that Kwesi makes is totally fine. What he has to do, though, is focus on this salary cap because the Vikings, after you bring in your head coach, that needs to be your focus right now. You need to focus on how you're going to deal with, what is it, negative $13 million of salary. One move that the Vikings can make a salary cap cut would be trading away Danielle Hunter. I'm looking at my phone to see if the Vikings are going to sign any head coaches, which they haven't so far. For another option, and this is one people now we're starting to mention, is either trading or cutting Michael Pierce. Just like Danielle Hunter, Michael Pierce continues to miss games. Michael Pierce and Danielle Hunter missed all of the 2020 season and a lot of the 2021 season on top of that. Both players on our defensive line who had backups who stepped into the role and looked perfectly fine. DJ Wanham looked great as a defensive end who stepped in for Danielle Hunter, and then obviously Everson Griffin went down, so then you had that issue as well. But with Michael Pierce, he went out with the injury. Armon Watts stepped in. Armon Watts didn't look as good as Michael Pierce. He looked better than Michael Pierce. Armon Watts looked amazing this last season and was one of the few bright spots on this Vikings defense that you could say, wow, I'm glad I have that guy, because Armon Watts is on his rookie contract and had 5 sacks this last season on his rookie contract and forced a fumble and had above 60 PFF grade coming out of the 6th round. Definitely a bright spot on our Vikings defense is Armon Watts and could step in for Michael Pierce. Whether the Vikings cut or trade Michael Pierce this offseason, it will save them $6.5 million of cap space and $8.5 if they do it after June 1st. So either way, not going to be very crucial against the cap, but is another player who, he's not an overpaid player. He's just a player that you don't have to pay that much to, if that makes any sense. You really don't when you have a player like Armon Watts, who looked very, very good as a nose tackle, and actually alongside Dalvin Tomlinson. If I were Andre Patterson, now in Andre Patterson we trust. Okay, Andre Patterson, like take my opinion with a grain of salt compared to Andre Patterson, who was a defensive mastermind. Okay, but if I were to do it, I would actually take Armon Watts, throw him at the 3 tech, because that man is an interior pass rusher on top of a run stopper, and then just put Dalvin Tomlinson as the nose tackle. Because Tomlinson has played nose with the New York Giants and was a great run stopper with their team and could stop the run up the middle very well and would be crucial on our defense. I would just take Armon Watts, throw him at the 3 tech. Don't even bother putting him out as a nose tackle because He might look great there. Dalvin Tomlinson would look better, and he can rush the passer at the 3 tech as well. That's what I would do if I was Andre Patterson. Another salary cap that the Vikings have to make. This is one that I've talked about many times, and one that now that the Vikings are bringing in a new head coach, now that the Vikings are bringing in a new GM, looks more and more possible. And that is what the Vikings are going to do with Kirk Cousins. This is the question. Okay? Because the Vikings, obviously, right now we're looking to a head coach. After that, what are you going to do with the quarterback position? Because just about the more this offseason progresses, I guess it's not technically offseason, the more this postseason progresses, the more it looks like every scenario is possible for the Vikings. Because as of right now, January 31st, Aaron Rodgers is looking more likely than not that he leaves Green Bay. More likely than not. Same goes for Davante Adams. To the point where Aaron Rodgers, him leaving Green Bay and keeping Kirk in Minnesota, we could run with our division next year. Which is why keeping Kirk for another year is understandable, and that's an understandable move. What's also understandable is maybe extending him a couple years. Now, I would hate this decision. Me personally, my personal opinion, I hate the decision. However, I can see it as well, why Kwesi would think that's a good idea. And then my favorite is obviously trading away Kirk Cousins. I've made that very clear in the podcast. Trading away Kirk Cousins would save us $35 million of salary cap. That's $35 million that we can move to younger players in free agencies, like Harold Landry, like bringing back Tyler Conklin, maybe bringing back Xavier Woods. You could bring in Carlton Davis as well with that money, or Gabriel, or the what's the guy's name? Right guard for the Bears. It's slipping my name right now. James Daniels. You can bring in multiple names for our team that could be crucial on our offense. Young guys that are undervalued, and that's where the Vikings' money has to go, in my opinion. Where the Vikings' money should go is in undervalued young guys. Because here's the thing, Vikings fans, we have so much money going to Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, and Harrison Smith, to the point where these restructuring contracts, I'm completely tired of it. I am so over restructuring contracts because it's every year we go into this offseason in the same situation, Vikings fans. That situation is coming off of a season where we missed the playoffs and where we're saying, let's just reload and do better next year. Why are we in the same situation we were the last few off seasons, where we missed the playoffs and say, oh, let's just bring in someone else. Let's just restructure his contract so then we can compete next year. Why are we making the same mistake, Vikings fans? Because this is the same thing we did the last few seasons. Oh, but this time I see we don't have Mike Zimmer. Oh, but this time we have a different coaching staff. All the more reason why you should look to the future for this team. All the more reason why you should look to a rebuild. When I say rebuild, I don't mean selling all of your players. When I say rebuild, I'm talking about filling those positions with young guys in free agency and in the draft. Those positions are quarterback, outside linebacker, corner, safety, the list goes on. Interior offensive lineman as well. Defensive end. There are multiple positions that the Vikings have to fill with young, undervalued talent in free agency and the draft. That's how you can rebuild a team, and it also is trading players away like Harrison Smith, trading players away like Kirk Cousins, maybe Adam Thielen. In all honesty, we don't know what Kwesi is going to do. If it was Spielman, I would say none of those players are getting traded away. However, Kwesi can completely come into this team and rechange it, and I'm all in for that. Vikings 2022, this is going to be the most interesting 3 months for the Vikings in maybe Vikings history. Because in all honesty, I have never been in a situation like this with the Vikings where I see so many mixed emotion among Vikings fans. Because it feels like every year we can agree, oh, this is the right decision to make, this is the wrong decision to make, or a majority of Vikings fans can. Now there are so many possibilities where it is split right down the middle. There are Vikings fans still who think $45 million for Kirk Cousins in 2022 is good because we can win the Super Bowl. Are we forgetting we were in the same situation the last 3 seasons? There are Vikings fans who think extending Kirk Cousins is a great idea. Fine. There are Vikings fans who think trading him away is a good idea. It is completely split right down the middle to where there are multiple different sides, and I'm all in for it. Because in all honesty, at the end of the day, there's only a few opinions that matter. And those are all in the front office. What is the Will family, Kwesi, head coach, what are these guys who run this Vikings team going, what is their opinion? What do they think would benefit this team? Do they think reloading, completely bringing in new star players in your team and reloading your offense and defense is going to work in 2022? Maybe. Or do they think going for a rebuild and finding undervalued young guys will benefit our team for the next decade? We're going to have to wait and see, but it's going to be so interesting to watch unfold.